comment about AD and her body, and I like felt so uncomfortable that I called it out. And then the whole time you spent talking to AD when I was by myself, and then I see you spinning her around, looking at her body. It made me feel a very type of way.
This is a mess. This is a mess, this trip, because you always expect drama when they have couples meet up, but this is a mess. And the fact that you have Clay, talking about his wife's body when he said, "I'm born again and I've changed." Oh my God, he's giving me Shake vibes. And as for Jimmy, it's karma. Karma is catching up with him because he thought he chose Megan Fox, and instead he chose a pile of headaches for himself. But hey, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love is Blind, Season 6, Episode 6. Looking at the couples and the activities that they're doing is interesting. It really is interesting in the sense that you get to see who's actually interested in getting to know their partner, who's actually invested in their relationship and wanting to grow it further than just the pods. And then you just get the sense of who's just there for the sex, who's just there for the sex. You get to see who gets along, you get to see who's faking it. And so it's cute to see Kenneth and Brittany. They have their, spa day. They both get full body massages, and they're very relaxed and very laid back. They're being very mature in how they're sort of portraying themselves, which makes sense given the fact that, I will repeat again, Kenneth is a middle school headmaster, so he has, to toe a certain line different to people like Clay or Jimmy or Johnny or Jeremiah. He has to toe a line of respect and boundaries, otherwise whatever he does, it can affect his career for the rest of his life. So it's cute to see them talk about the massages and their plans to sort of make it a monthly thing for themselves. That was cute to see, really. And then you have Amy and Johnny. Amy and Johnny, she's right to say they're morphing into the same person. They seem very obsessed with one another. They seem to be in their little bubble. They don't care about whatever's going on around them. It seems they were physically intimate the night before. So I think for them, they're getting the best of both worlds in the sense that they've matched themselves to someone they're attracted to, someone they really like. So they're interested in growing that bond, that connection, to make sure that it lasts a long time. And it's cute because you do have moments where they're making out, but you also do have moments when they're sort of getting to know one another and have deep conversations, which is great. You have Laura and Jeremiah. They're sort of playing with a bow and arrow. And for me, I don't know whether it's just me, but that relationship seems one-sided. It seems like Jeremiah is more into Laura than she's into him. It seems like the moment she saw him, he didn't meet her expectations, but she's going to go along with it just so she can enjoy this holiday. Do I think they'll last? It will take a lot of giving on Laura's side, in my opinion, because at the moment she still seems stuck in that situation whereby she doesn't know whether she likes him. She seems to be getting some icks from him, and I don't know whether she's going to be able to get over that and actually develop a strong connection with him. So you have Clay and AD on a date. They're having these fancy drinks, and for me, oh my God, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Clay is this season's Shake, as far as I'm concerned. Shake was very hypercritical of women and their bodies, and then he appeared to be born again, and then once he met Dipti, he started criticizing her and saying, he wasn't attracted to her ABC. And Clay said the same thing, more or less. He said he wanted to see what his wife looked like, and if she didn't look a certain way, then he wouldn't be able to propose, blah 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 blah. He saw AD, he was excited about it, and then suddenly they get into the conversation about bodies, and he is telling AD, as long as you eat right and you work out, you'll be fine. And it's like, that's not how women bodies work. Women's bodies are totally different to men. So you can't just say, oh, if you eat right and exercise, then everything will be okay. No, what if she has children? What if she goes on contraceptives? Her body will react differently. So you can't expect it to be the same way. And for him to sort of say, well, I'll tell you, AD, you need to go into the gym. And it's like, oh, Shake, 2.0, Shake 2.0. And then they go into quite a lengthy discussion about her dad. And it makes sense why she always wants a man she can repair. Because there were issues with her dad growing up that she wasn't able to fix, and now she's trying to fix it in the man that she marries. That's the impression that I get. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist. I don't want to sort of say, oh, that's 100% my diagnosis. No, but from the way she's reacted, in the sense that she's always got these men that have a fault. We have Matthew and his antisocial behaviors and his, his lack of social experience is what I'll say. And she tried to fix him. She tried to get him to open up. She opened up his shell, blah, 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 blah. And then we move on. Now we've got this one, Clay, who, is used to, I think, sexualizing women, in my opinion, because he wants them to look a certain way, otherwise they're not attractive to him. And now suddenly she has sort of made herself the savior and is going to try and save this man. And it's like, why? Because even in his proposal, he said, oh, I proposed to you because I knew you'd be the right person to make me to become the man that I'm supposed to be, the best version of myself. And it's like, no, there's two of you in this relationship. If she's doing that for you, what are you doing for her? Make that make sense? The math ain't mathing. I'm already tired, and I'm not even Jimmy, and I'm not even related to him. The fact that he is constantly being asked, how do you feel about me? Are you happy that you chose me? Do you think I look beautiful? And it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Why do we have to keep going over this 200 times? If I tell you once I love you, you're beautiful, that should be enough. Her insecurities are showing. You can tell that Chelsea knows that this guy is really not into her, or he's not feeling her the way she's feeling him. And she's trying to pressure him into saying, yes, I really like you. Yes, you're very beautiful. And this is not happening. And so I don't get why she just doesn't leave it where it is and just move on and try and just enjoy whatever they have for as long as they have it. Because obviously we all know that once he sees Jessica, then he's going to leave her. And sadly, she made her bed when she lied to him and told him that she looked like Megan Fox. Had she just left it at that and said, no, you have to wait until you see me, then she'd be fine. But because she told him a lie and he bought the lie, she knows he's not happy. She knows he's not happy because what he was expecting visually is not what he got. And so he is being polite by not saying it, but you can tell that he's not feeling her. Sadly, I normally criticize people for saying so-and-so is not feeling so-and-so. But in this case, sadly, Jimmy is not feeling Chelsea. And I don't know how he's going to overcome that. Or I don't know how Chelsea is going to get him over the line. Because Mavs will have an event for the pod squad to meet. And when they meet, he's going to realize that he made a mistake because he left the most beautiful girl. And I don't know how he's going to navigate that, because he never showed us anything that was wrong, or never said anything that was tangible that was wrong with Jessica, outside of the fact that he was impressed by Megan Fox look-alike. So they have a couples mixer, and the first thing that came to my mind, because of how toxic it is this season, is Jarrett and Mallory. That's the first thing that came to my mind. So they have all the couples arrive, and it's interesting because you have Jeremy and Laura be the first couple to arrive. They're followed by Brittany and Kenneth, and it's cute because they call Brittany Miss Ma'am because she used to be a teacher, and the fact that they called, Kenneth by his surname, that was cute as well. And then you have Amy and Johnny arrive, followed by AD and Clay, which I don't know. I don't know how it's AD. I know it's nice to be sexy, but I think she should have toned it back a bit so that she's not being sexualized a lot by the guys. But because her man is trying to say he doesn't want to sexualize her. Maybe it's just me. And then lastly, you have Jimmy and Chelsea arrive, and I love Brittany. Brittany was being polite. She was being polite because Brittany was close friends with Jessica, because all she said was, this man doesn't look like I imagined him. I imagined him with long hair. I think she was just saying, I don't see the hype because he's not that good looking, but she didn't want to say that because then it would become disrespectful and Kenneth might say, might frown down and Kenneth might frown upon it. So I think she's trying to sort of be polite and still, read him because, yeah, given the hype the girls had about him, yeah, he doesn't meet it. He doesn't cut it. And so it doesn't make sense why they were fighting for this guy. When you look at him, he's not that good looking. He's not that physically fit. So you don't know what stands out outside of his voice about him. These people are messy. They're messy. Anyway, you have, Brittany go to meet up the girls. I think it was after her confessional. And so there wasn't anywhere for her to sit down. And she went to sit on the floor. And Kenneth was right beside her and asked her, do you need somewhere to sit down? Because the girls were busy looking around and saying, oh, we need a chair for her. We need a chair. And he went and he brought her a seat. And you could see it. You could see it that Chelsea felt some type of way. Oh, how do you feel? Do you feel safe around him? And it's like, why would you bring the safe word when it comes to people in a connection? No one has asked you whether you feel safe with Jimmy. Why are you asking Brittany if she feels safe with Kenneth? I don't get it. And I like the fact that Laura was quick to say, well, I've just met him and I already feel safe around him. And then she went, oh, I feel safe as well. And it's like, no, what were you trying to say? Why did you bring in the safe word? Why wouldn't she be safe around Kenneth? Make that make sense? And so to see how sort of Kenneth and Brittany are sort of very intimate without being, crass or inappropriate was amazing. The girls had a conversation and they were talking about the guys and who had sex. And for me, I don't like the fact that we had too much detail, TMI, about Jimmy's junk. We don't need to know about his junk. Really, we don't. And I like the fact that Laura asked her that, you're saying it's very big. What are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to what you're used to or what? Make it make sense. And it was something else. And then to hear Jimmy praising AD and saying she's very beautiful, and yet he hasn't said the same thing about his fiance, doesn't make sense. That math ain't mathing for me. It ain't mathing because why are you finding beauty in somebody else's fiance and not in your own? Make it make sense. It's interesting. It's like you have a group date for kindergarteners and then you have a date for high schoolers and they're all at the same event, because when everybody else is being very childish and very immature in their behavior, you have Brittany there standing with her man, thanking God for her man, praising her man, appreciating her man, speaking positivity into her man, and letting him know that she values him and she's very appreciative of the fact that he is the one she's with, because she's looked around and she's seen that actually she won the gold prize. And then you have others. You have, Chelsea standing with Jimmy and they're sort of talking about AD's body. This is why I said AD should have worn something maybe a bit more event appropriate, because look at what everybody else is wearing. Yes, she doesn't control people's perception of her because of what she's wearing, but at the same time, maybe she should have toned it down just a little bit, because Jimmy now says she's stacked, and Chelsea, feeling some type of way, calls out, Jimmy said you're stacked. And then Jimmy goes across to her because he was embarrassed, and they start, their conversation seemed very, very honest and very, non-toxic, non-controversial. And so to have Chelsea moaning to Amy that, oh, I don't like the fact that he's talking to AD, especially after he made the comment about her being stacked and the fact that he made her twirl around, and it's like, girl, you've got your own problems, you've got your own issues that you're bringing into this relationship. Maybe you should have gone to counseling before you got onto Married at First Sight, because now you're projecting your insecurities on AD. AD and your man are not discussing anything controversial. They're talking about their relationships from their point of view. They're discussing the expectations from their relationships. And so for you to make it seem like AD is seducing your man, that doesn't make sense. And the camera pans to AD and she's shaking her bum and it's like, oh, maybe not at this moment, AD. This is a bit of a delicate time. So you then have Chelsea feeling some type of way, being consoled by Lauren and Amy. And it's like, you can't compare your connection with Jimmy with the other two ladies, because you can see that Johnny is all about Amy. You can see that Jeremiah is all about Laura. So the idea that you think that you're all on the same playing field and that your man should feel the same way doesn't make sense. The person who felt about you the way you want them to feel about you is Trevor, and you dumped him because you were competing with Jessica and you wanted to win over Jessica. Now you've won this man who doesn't like you. You have to deal with it. I'm sorry. So you have AD and Clay sort of making out. This is the norm for the two of them. They're always making out anytime you see them. So Kenneth walks up upon them and he actually validates their connection, and he tells them that he's very appreciative of the fact that they are black love. They seem happy. He has a lot of respect for Clay, and so he hopes things are going great for them. And during their conversation it comes up, and you have AD sort of asking Kenneth, how do you feel about Brittany? And he says, I really like her, she's a very caring person. And then she discusses the issue of race, and for me, I understand where she's coming from, but also at the same time, I feel some type of way. I think she should have had a conversation with Brittany first, because she's a girl, they know each other, they were in the pods together. She should have asked her, how do you feel about, unless she asked her and we weren't shown, how do you feel about Kenneth? How do you feel about the fact that he's a black man? Are there any challenges? Do you have any concerns? And then she would have gone to Kenneth, because it sort of makes it seem like she's criticizing him, that why are you, because she says, have you always dated white girls? And he's like, no, this is the first time. And it's like, but it's a bit tricky in how it's sort of asked. And I like the fact that Kenneth stands 10 toes deep, because it shouldn't be about the color of the person that you love. It should be about the person and how they make you feel. And he said she makes him feel safe, she makes him happy. And so yeah, she did bring up the issue about, does she know she'll have to raise black children, and will she be able to do that? And it's like, well, she was a teacher. You'd assume, yes, she wasn't a parent, but she was a teacher. You'd assume she's met black people before. You'd assume she has some level of awareness. Having spent time with her in the pods, was there anything that concerned you that you want him to know in particular? I don't know. I think it was a sensitive issue, and I think it was a sensitive topic, and it depends on where you look at it from. Yes, it could be her looking out for her brother and saying, Kenneth, just be mindful that, there might be challenges that she might not be prepared for. But at the same time, it might come across as her sort of like being hypercritical. That why are you dating a white girl? Could you not find a black girl? Blah, 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 blah. And it sort of becomes a bit hypocritical of AD, because she herself had a connection with Matthew. Had Matthew not played up and sort of, played with the girls, she could have ended up being engaged to him. So how would she have dealt with that issue in her situation? Because that would have been an interracial couple as well. So it's a bit tricky. It's a bit dicey. I remember saying that maybe AD should have toned it down on her dressing a bit. And I know I am one of those people that say that the way you dress should not influence people's opinions about you. But sadly, first impressions matter. And this is a scenario whereby you have people coming with their significant others and you're meeting them for the first time. It would have looked cute had she worn that on a date, but given the way everybody else is dressed, I think it just made for everyone to sexualize her, and it didn't help with the comment about her being stacked, and then the bin dip comment that was made by Jeremiah because Laura had told him about it just made things worse. It just made things worse. And the fact that her man couldn't stand up and sort of defend her and took it as a joke when she felt some type of way is sad, because I think had the same thing been said about Brittany, Kenneth would have corrected that instantly. Even Johnny, I think, would have corrected that about Amy. And so to have Clay sit there and say, oh, it's a joke, don't worry, I'll speak to her later. And it's like, she's upset at the moment. She's upset. She's having a back and forth with Laura, who's sort of minimizing her sort of feelings about it. The least you could do is go and stand there and just pull her away, have a conversation, comfort her in her time of need, and then you can have a conversation with your friends and say it's a joke, I'll sort it out later. But at least make sure you find out how she feels at that point in time. I really have very, very, very low expectations for Clay, and he surpassed the bar of how low they were, because how could he just minimize that and say, oh, don't worry, I'll speak to her, it's a joke, and not stand up for his girlfriend? Because that's an inappropriate joke. That's an inappropriate joke. Yes, to him it's a joke, but his girlfriend, his fiance, feels some type of way. The least he could do is acknowledge her feelings, as far as I'm concerned. And Laura and Jeremiah, you could see this is the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of the end, because he already has been really into her, and he's realized that maybe he's punching. And so the fact that she's not taking him seriously, and she's sort of got him in trouble with the other, couples, I think is just going to make things worse between the two of them, which is really sad. It's really sad. I guess Jimmy's karma is catching up with him, and they remind me of Danielle and Nick. I'm going to say this again, because after the couples have gone to their rooms, you have Jimmy and Chelsea having a conversation. And Chelsea, she's very good at playing mind games, in the sense that she'll criticize him for something and then she'll go, I love you, and she'll give him a kiss. Because she started playing up saying, oh, I felt very small, I felt very disrespected, I felt very isolated because, you were with AD after commenting about her body, and you ignored me, and I was on my own. I felt so humiliated. And it's like, seriously, that's not what happened. They were talking about you and your relationship. So when did AD make moves on your man? You're making it seem like AD was all over your man, and she wasn't. She was just talking to your man because they were having just a conversation. Because there are people that dated in the pods. At the end of the day, if she had had a Mallory type of conversation with Jimmy, then we would have words. But she didn't. She didn't say anything inappropriate. She didn't behave in any inappropriate ways. Chelsea comes with a lot of baggage. And sadly, this man is receiving his karma for the way he treated Jessica, because he treated Jessica very badly and he thought he had won the prize. And now I think he's regretting his choice and his decision, because he can't seem to win at all. No matter how much reassurance he gives her, he never wins, because she'll always find something else to play victim. And it's like, how much longer can this last? This can't be a yes on decision day. No way. This can't be a yes at the wedding. Who wants to put up with all that? No. And I think something needs to be done, though, because if that was a guy who was doing that to her, people would be up in arms and criticizing the guy for sort of manipulating his fiance. But because she's the one who's doing it, I don't see any backlash. I haven't seen anything on Twitter to sort of say people are upset about it, and I personally don't like it. I think sadly, this will be a teachable moment for him. This will be a teachable moment for Jimmy, because he needs to learn not to believe what people say first time out without seeing it. One, he also needs to realize that there's more to a person than how they look. Two, and he needs to set boundaries with people, because he needs to set boundaries with this woman, otherwise she's going to drive him mad. But anyway, I digress. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 5. Bye guys.